Nepal was battered by incessant rainfall last month, causing massive loss of lives and properties. Billions in properties have been estimated to have been lost, the burden of which falls on the state and the individuals who lost the properties themselves. For a climate vulnerable country like Nepal that lacks adequate resources for mitigation and adaptation, an insurance could have been one of the options to support individuals and businesses during recovery phase, in covering rebuilding costs as well, among others. However, with the realization of the importance of insurance overall, also comes the question on its accessibility and inclusivity. To talk on these issues, today we have with us in Kantipur News Talk the Vice Chair of Munich Re Foundation that works in climate risk adaptation, mitigation and inclusive insurance, Mr. Dirk Reinhard. Welcome to Kantipur News. How have you been? Have you been able to settle down properly since you arrived?
We are very busy with the International Conference on Inclusive Insurance, so yeah, that is keeping us busy, but we had a very warm welcome here.
And how has the Kathmandu weather greeted you so far?
It's very nice. It's a little warmer than in Germany, but it's very nice.
So to begin with, to simplify the concept, how is an inclusive insurance different from the traditional one? What does it really mean when we say an insurance must be inclusive?
Well, there are lots of different definitions. If we look at the global outreach, about 2.6 billion people are rather in the low-income market, and we believe that we reach maybe 10% of those. The concept of microinsurance has been developed over the years. Microinsurance is a one-on-one insurance. It's for the low-income market. It addresses their needs. Nevertheless, there are other solutions on a meso level, for example, to insure a cooperative. So there are different approaches. We named it inclusive insurance because if we only reach 10%, we do not reach 90%, and we need to include those. So the question is, what are the barriers and why don't we reach the 90%? And how can we make insurance more inclusive?
What are the barriers, especially when we talk about a country like Nepal?
The barriers are many. Do we understand insurance? Do the clients understand insurance? Someone who has never bought insurance, how do they use insurance? Insurance is not a lottery. It's a payment against a promise. But insurance, what's very important, means we need to understand the risk, analyze the risk. We need to reduce the risk, and then we can insure. So the clients also need to understand that they have a role as well. On the provider side, the insurers, the insurance providers, don't really understand the low-income market. They don't really know what people need. We, as normal, ordinary insurers in developed markets, we expect a monthly payment. Maybe that's sometimes not possible because people can only pay the premium after they've received the harvest. So we really need to understand the clients. We have many insurers, a lot of insurers, but we don't have enough insurers that are interested in the low-income market. And then it goes to regulation, digitization. I was in Nepal the first time in 2018. At the time, you had to print an insurance policy, stamp it, and bring it to the client. So if we talk about low ticket, small premiums, this is too expensive. So digitization has to be allowed. In many markets in Africa, for example, we see mobile payments coming up. But that's sort of a different currency which some of the central banks don't allow. So if we go digital, but it's not allowed by the regulation, that's also a barrier.
So from 2018 till 2023 or 24, have you seen any changes in the way insurance is being applied for or taken benefit from Nepalese community?
Not only from Nepalese community, I think the big cut was the pandemic. And companies realized that they have to find solutions to serve the clients also when they cannot talk to the clients directly. So that really boosts the digitization, and I think this is the biggest development.
I'm sure you know that many of the Nepalese people who had done their insurance during COVID pandemic are still waiting for their payments. Where do you think the lapses are when it comes to issues like these?
One of the speakers on the conference just today said, pay premium and then insurers make themselves relevant. So you have to be fast and pay, and when I hear that insurance is not paid, then it will not certainly create an interest for insurance. It's about regulation. What does regulation prescribe? In the Philippines, for example, especially for the low-income market, they were very strict that they said they have to pay within 7 days. Now, when there was a big typhoon in the Philippines, it became really difficult to even find the client. So sometimes regulation is there, but it's sometimes also not possible. So there are various problems why insurers don't pay fast. They need to analyze the documents. Even that, if it's not digital, takes too long. So there are lots of barriers in that, but it's also about the mindset of insurers that they really need to understand. They have to pay fast, otherwise they are not becoming relevant. And so this is the call to the insurance industry as well.
I want to mention the recent incident. Nepal was battered with heavy rainfall towards the end of September. So there were loss of properties worth 17 billion, more than 200 people died. But according to Nepal Insurance Authority, there were no life insurance claims and only a few non-life insurance claims. What do you make of the scenario?
So I just looked at the figures for the non-life, so for the life. Unfortunately, I don't have the current figures. If you look at the figures for non-life, only 0.8% of the market is microinsurance. So if those people don't have insurance, then they don't claim because there's nothing to claim for. And I think we really need to develop this. We need to find the solution for those, the right answers, the right small ticket policies, the right distribution channels. We need to educate the customers, and they have to understand what insurance is for. But again, the insurance industry also has to be more active and really look into solutions so that after the next incident, there are more people protected, more families protected.
What do you think can be done by insurance companies or even states to encourage people to get insured?
It's education. It's about explaining the concept of insurance. So education program for possible customers, perhaps together with cooperatives, for example, or with microfinance organizations, so that you reach more people more easily. The government also could force these programs or encourage those programs. But then at the same time, they need to talk to the clients and understand what they need. Because sometimes clients know what they need, but the insurance don't offer.
What has your observation been so far for a country like Nepal? What kind of program would attract the public? So, is this also, I ask you, because you have overlooked many countries and advocated for inclusive insurance for many countries. So drawing from your experience from other places, what can be learned by Nepal to implement in our context?
So I think what can be learned, one thing is go digital. This is certainly one of the key factors to provide insurance in an efficient manner and in a sustainable manner. It's about distribution, 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 distribution. Distribution includes explaining the product. When we talk about what Nepal could learn from other countries, there were examples where there was a strategic approach by several stakeholders, insurance industry, government, distribution channels. They analyzed the market, they analyzed the barriers, and they came up with a strategy defining goals, what they wanted to do. Zambia, for example, they developed a national agricultural insurance program after that. Philippines carried out education programs. And so little by little, it takes time. We have to be patient. We will not reach 90% in 5 years. But we should reach maybe 15%, 20% in 5 years, not 10%.
That brings me to the a query that I have. How do you see the trend going in the near future?
I would rather look at the midterm. In the near future, it is difficult to say because the trends are, again, around digitization. I hear from the insurance industry, just the support we got as Munich Re Foundation to work with them to organize the International Conference on Inclusive Insurance was really amazing. There's an interest in the industry, of the industry in the market, But again, some just simply don't know how to access the client, how to understand the client. So they have to do their research, they have to do focus group discussions, really understand what they need, and then work on it. Have a strategy. We now have 7 microinsurance companies in Nepal, which we didn't have in 2018. So it's a start, and be patient, but be persistent.
It's a progress.
It's a progress, definitely.
So Nepal is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. Yes. We have disasters every year, and we lack the resources for mitigation and adaptation. Could you please highlight more on the importance of insurance in this context?
Yes, certainly climate risk makes the most vulnerable even more vulnerable. So there is no question we need to find risk financing mechanism on several levels. On the individual level, it could be a microinsurance product for a house, for the farmer. But someone also reminded the government that many of governmental buildings in Nepal are not insured. So rather than having to spend part of the budget for rebuilding, use that budget maybe to come up with an insurance program that in case something happens, you are insured. Then you have to find models to distribute the risks, because what insurers don't like is risks that occur too frequently with too high losses. So maybe within the regions you can distribute, or then in the long run, like we have seen in agriculture, for example, African risk capacity, where several countries are part of that. And then if something happens in one country, there's a payout. So it's like a pool among countries. And maybe that's also an option that several countries in the region develop something to distribute the risk among the countries.
Mm-hmm. An international conference is underway on inclusive insurance as well. It's throughout the week, I believe.
Yes.
What achievements or milestones would you like to see come through the conference?
On Thursday, when the conference has closed, we will meet with the stakeholders here in Nepal, the insurance industry, the regulator. We sit together, see what we learned, and what could be possible next steps. And this is really what I would like to see, that we create something like a roundtable on inclusive insurance, which is not only a talking roundtable, but which defines goals, targets, and then starts working on it. Because again, without a strategic approach, it will be difficult to develop the market. Analyze what are the barriers, and then try to find solutions and set goals.
But are there any anticipations like this probably is the scenario in case of Nepal?
I don't have that at the moment. No.
Let's talk about the challenges again, because for Nepal, the internet penetration is around 90%. Literacy rate is around 77%. Do these come as a barrier in fully implementing the plans or encouraging people to get insured?
Having an internet penetration of 9% is good, but the question is how reliable is the internet, especially in times when you really need it. So what if a landslide just destroyed all the antennas and so on, the servers? So it's absolutely important that we have this high penetration, high digitization. But Lorenzo Chan, CEO of Pioneer Insurance in the Philippines, also said we need offline backups to be reliable. They had the learning that they had everything online, which was great. But then if something really difficult happened, or sometimes the servers were down, or the internet connection was not too good, they couldn't serve their people. When it comes to literacy, that's again a challenge. We are used to long insurance policies. When I give presentations in Germany, I ask people, do you have insurance? Did you read the policy? Not many people say they did. Not many people say they understood. We have to be really simple so that people that can't read understand it. And then we also maybe have to work on different languages, different dialects, different, yeah. So this is important to reach also those who may not be literate, and there are solutions for that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think insurance should be a part of social protection for the people? And how do you think a government should engage in it?
I think there's no either or. I think it's complementary. If we talk about life insurance, I think life insurance can be easily done on pure private basis. health insurance. My country, Germany, has a public health insurance scheme, but there's an additional private insurance as well. Agricultural insurance we see on private basis, we see it subsidized. So for me, it's somewhere in between. And the heavily subsidized agricultural insurance schemes are sort of social security. So there's no either or. We need to have the right approach for the problem that we want to solve.
What do you see the trend being like overall in the international community as well in the days to come?
I just came back from a session where we saw examples from Pakistan, from Rwanda, companies that were set up just before the pandemic, for example. They were growing slowly, but from 2017, there was one example, 500 clients, today 1 million clients. And we see more examples like this, and we see more champions, national insurance companies developing. At the same time, we see also more special entities established from an insurance company. Either that's required by law, or they say we need a different mind thinking, so we need a different approach. Microinsurance is not regular insurance cut in small pieces. We have to understand really what the client's issues are, and those are not the issues of the wealthier people. So they develop special teams that can think out of the side of the box, and they come up with solutions. One very interesting example is hospital cash. If you only pay hospital expenses, then people who cannot afford the transport to go to the hospital will not go to the hospital. So hospital cash pays you a lump sum when you go to the hospital, whether they pay the hospital or the transport. So this is thinking outside of the box. We normally approach health insurance as we pay the doctor, medicine, or the hospital. So this is one solution for that. And I see more trends, like more solutions like this, more innovations like this.
Great. Mr. Reinhard, I hope the conference is very productive and that you can come up, along with stakeholders in our country, in fact, with a tailor-made package on how it should be in case of Nepal. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.